I'm B.
I'm T. And today we're going to talk about Yann Martel's Beatrice and Virgil.
And in this first part of talking about Beatrice and Virgil,
it's the same on the other side.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how and why we came to read it and the buzz around this book, because it's kind of an important publishing thing to talk about.
Yeah, it wasn't a book that either of us were thinking about reading on our own.
No.
And then came the reviews.
And before that, my first customer, when this book first got put on the shelf, was 5 minutes after I put it on the shelf, and this customer came up and looked at it and held it up like this and said, "You know, this book got $3 million advance," and then proceeded to kind of talk negatively about it and basically walk away, because I hadn't known any of that, any of the pre-press before it came out. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I went, so then I started Googling it.
Google.
Google. And then about a week or so later, the reviews started coming out. And
they're harsh. Well, most of them. There's some that are good. Like the Globe and Mail review,
I don't know if I read that.
Pashamala.
Yeah.
And he gave it quite a good review.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the general consensus is, in reviewer speak, that it's a miss.
It was not well looked. I mean, some of the reviews were so brutal.
Yeah, which I don't understand.
I mean, there's brutal and there's brutal, right? There's a bad review and then there's tearing something apart, which, made us kind of curious about it, because we both read Life of Pi and we both know who Yann Martel is, and and he's Canadian and we're Canadian, so it's like, hey, why not read this book?
Read the hometown boy.
And then it started getting confusing for me personally, in so far as the reviews, because it seemed like some people were kind of reading different books in a way.
Absolutely.
It was hard to tell what this book was about, except the prime theme that I got from a lot of the reviews was about it being an allegory for the Holocaust, and I thought that was interesting. But it doesn't bother me in terms of appropriation or anything like that.
No,
that kind of stuff doesn't bother me if it
And in many ways,
works.
it's something I think I mean, I agree with the sentiment behind it. I think it's time to start
looking differently at the Holocaust
and how we incorporate it into fiction,
into
and
literature. Yeah.
I mean, September 11th has already been incorporated into fiction. And yet the Holocaust is one of those things that stays primarily in the non-fiction genre, and I'm moving my hands around so I don't know if they're on above camera.
Oh well,
it's my habit. And so I think that's interesting, and I've heard Yann Martel in bits and pieces talk about the Holocaust and war and the differences in how we use them in literature. And so I think it's interesting in that way. So I was prepared not to hate it.
I was prepared to hate it, I must admit. Just because some of the quotes that I read in some of the reviews made me squirm with their heavy-handedness.
Quotes from the book?
From the book.
Oh, okay, not quotes of the reviewers.
No.
Okay.
So I was a little bit scared to read it, because I was afraid I would hate it a lot. And I didn't really want to, because it had so much of a backlash.
And for me, I often think reviewers are harsh for the sake of being harsh. They want us to know how smart they are, us the reading public, to know how smart they are. Therefore, their reviews reflect that sort of, oh, well, I'm so smart, but if you're not as smart as me, these are things you might appreciate in it, but you won't understand why the book is a failure.
Yeah.
And so I was prepared to like it based on my experiences of having liked books people have reviewed poorly in the past.
Yeah. And then we read it.